Affinity Photo 2 is composed of what is known as personas. They're located in the second ribbon, up here, under the menu items. There are 5 of them, and this one right here is the photo persona. The photo persona is the one that I usually call the home page, and is the persona that is the default when you open Affinity Photo 2. Then there are other personas. This one is called the liquefy persona, and it distorts the image or parts of an image. This persona is called the develop persona, and is for professional editing of images. This one, the one that we're going to take a look at today, is the tone mapping persona, and it adjusts brightness and contrast of images. This one right here is called the export persona, and it gives you additional export options. As I said, the photo option is the workspace we usually work in, and it opens on the home screen. This is where you will do most of your work most of the time. Now, we'll be using the tone mapping persona in this video to sharpen this image of my great-grandmother and her sisters, and if you saw my last video, this is the same photo. This photo hasn't been cleaned up. I'm still using the original one because later on I plan to take all of my old photos and use the knowledge I gain in Affinity Photo 2 to really clean them up and sharpen them up and make them look really good. But I don't consider myself somebody that really knows what they're doing yet, so I'm going to put that on the back burner until I get farther along. Now, the first thing I want to do is to duplicate the background, and I do this because I'll forget to do it. I know how I am. I'll forget to do that. I'll unselect it. It doesn't really matter. But we want to make sure that we have the background that we're working on selected. So now I'll go over here and I will select the tone mapping persona. And the tone mapping persona has to think a little bit, and then it will pull up all of these things over here that are called presets. Now, no matter what persona that you work in, you're always going to have the same workspace. It's always going to be this window. And each of these personas has its own set of tools, and you see them over on the left. So it's right here. You have the hand tool, the zoom tool, the overlay paint tool, overlay erase tool, and the overlay gradient tool, and then you have this set of presets. Now the hand tool is the first one. It's already selected. You use that if you want to move your photo around. So all I'm doing is clicking on my mouse and dragging it around. So that's really what the hand tool is for. Then we have the zoom tool, and with the zoom tool, you'll notice that our cursor turns into a magnifying glass with a plus in the middle of it. And if you move your mouse to the left, it will make it smaller, and if you move it to the right, it will make it bigger. So that's what the zoom tool does. Then we have what's called the overlay paint tool, and this is a tool we use if we want to paint a mask on our image. So if we do this, we can paint a mask on our image. If we want to get rid of it, we'll go to the overlay erase tool, which, you guessed it, erases what we already painted in. Probably the easiest way to do this would be to just get rid of the overlays that were created when we use these two tools. And you'll see that in a minute. Okay, lastly, the one over here is the overlay gradient tool, which puts a gradient on your image like that. I can't think of a single reason why you would put a gradient on an image like this, but there are some uses for gradients, and you'll see those a little bit later when I do more and more lessons on this. Okay, now, how do we get rid of this? Well, if you click on the Overlays tab, you'll see what we just did. We have the gradient overlay, which is the gradient that shows right there, and if we want to get rid of it, all we have to do is to click the trash can, and it will get rid of it. if we want to get rid of the brush overlay, even though we erased the overlay off, you can get rid of the whole thing by selecting it and putting it in the trash can. This overlay that says master, we don't want to get rid of that because that's the picture we're working on right here, and that's called master. The master is the one that if you select it and you make some adjustments to it, those adjustments will be reflected on the whole image since that's the master image. Now, after getting rid of all those, I'm going to show you another method to sharpen my photo of my great-grandmother and her sisters using the tone mapping persona. Now, on the left, you see that we have what are called presets. When this picture opened up, it's really opened up into the natural preset. So if you select it, it'll still pretty much look the same. Then we have detailed, which makes it a little bit sharper. And when I selected this detailed preset, I noticed that down here, this stuff that I thought was a shadow may not be a shadow. Right here we have what's called cool. I actually like that one. And right here you have high contrast black and white, which makes it a little bit more clear. Sometimes you'll use a preset to use a quick adjustment and that's all you'll do, but we're going to do one more thing. And then right here we have dramatic, which to be perfectly honest looks a little bit too dramatic to me. And the reason that it does is it sharpens up our image a good deal, but notice up here on their face that it looks a little bit grainy, and we may not want that. So we don't want to sharpen it up so much that we have that grainy image. Okay, so those are the presets. Of these, I think I'm going to go with high contrast black and white. Why did I choose that one? Well, really no good reason. I've been through them, so I decided just to choose one for no apparent reason, just to show you how this sharpening works. So I'm going to choose high contrast black and white to start off. Now, in order to make our adjustments, we need to go back to Tone Map. And in Tone Map, the first thing we want to do is we want to change our tone compression and our local contrast to 0. To me, that looks better already and makes this over here, which I'm now convinced is not a shadow, look more and more like a shadow. I don't know, maybe it is and I'm looking too much into it. I don't know. But turning this compression and local contrast down makes it really look better. Now what we want to do is we want to scroll down. I'm not going to be throwing too much information at you, so we're going to skip over exposure and black point and brightness and all that, enhance, and go down to this right here called detail refinement, right here. So this detail refinement, where this diamond is, we're going to check detail refinement. When we check detail refinement, two things open up here. Two sliders. We have a radius slider and we have an amount slider. And what we're going to do, this isn't real complicated, all you're going to do is to move these sliders to the left until you get the sharpness that you want. So again, this is a personal preference. Just like choosing which preset I was going to pick was a personal preference. So I picked the high contrast black and white. And I move the sliders to where I will get the sharpness that I want without making it look so sharp that it looks like these women have a rash on their face. We don't really want to get to that point. I tend to like my pictures more sharpened than a lot of people do, so then again, it is personal preference. Okay, so now that you have that and you think that this is the one that you want, to apply it, all you have to do is to go up to Apply, and then it will take you back to the photo persona, where you will see these two layers, the background layer that we've been working on, and the background layer that was the original one. and you will be able to see the difference between them. So all you have to do, make sure both of them are checked first, and then uncheck the background layer we've been working on to see how much of a change you've got. So this took some of the fuzziness out of it and made it look a little bit more clear. But if you don't like that, you can always go back in and try another preset. I mean, that's the fun of it, just going in there and playing around with them and seeing what you get when you use some other presets or some other adjustments to your sliders. So again, this is before and this is after. And now that we have this, if we have it the way we want, we can get rid of these artifacts just by going in to the painting brush tool and make sure I have the right layer selected, and then just clicking over that to get rid of that, and painting over that to get rid of that, and painting over this to get rid of it, painting over this to get rid of that, and so on. So we can get rid of a lot of our artifacts that are messing up our picture. In this picture are a lot of other things I'm going to be working on in the future, so after I end this video, I'm not going to save this. I'm going to keep it and try to figure out what I want to clean up. So this was another way of sharpening an image, this time using the tone mapping persona. Give it a try and compare it with the high-pass filter method shown in the previous video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to find out if I find any more sharpening techniques. I'm going to be putting together some mini review lessons. These lessons are going to be a minute or so long and will be short reviews of previous videos to refresh your memory on a specific skill in the format of first do this, then this, etc. No muss, no fuss. I'll link the long video to each shorty. The first one will drop on Wednesday.